Okay, well, hi everybody. Welcome to our second session for our online retreat weekend, Heralds of Eternity. If you're only just joining in now, I'm Peter. I'm the host this weekend. And we've got a beautiful session coming up tonight. We're going to be joined by Kirsten and Jason at the monastery in Utah. And they're also going to introduce musical performances and guests tonight. So I'm just going to pass it straight over to you guys there. So take it away. Oh, it looks like you're, oh, there it goes.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, hi everyone.
Hello.
Well, we have a fun session tonight. We are going to go out of the box tonight. We have an unexpected surprise for us all. As we were praying into the session earlier today, just feeling this call for, it's about just the depth of joining in mind and joining with our brothers and that Heralds Eternity. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from the Course and just to hear Jesus's words directly on that. And then we were, just praying into what it would look like. And what felt really fun to us is that we would actually go on location at a certain point into the session, and Jason and a team are going to go with a roving camera and they're going to head off on location, and we are going to beam them in, and so they can share miracles and show you some of what's been happening at the monastery. So we're winging it, and we haven't gone on location like that before. So it's going to be fun.
This was decided 3 hours ago. So. With 2 webcams.
With 2 webcams, yeah. But this is our life. It's very spontaneous, and we trust in the Spirit, and then we just go for the ride. So we also have, we have music. We have Eric and Yiska here, and we have Zach and Linda in Mexico, and so we're just going to be sprinkled and blessed with live music from them, which will just intersperse the sharings and the movements that are happening throughout the evening. And there's been just some really deep healing and miracles, of course, happening here. So we were just joining about that today, and there are several here that will also come on camera to share their direct experience of joining in mind and healing, and including Soren, who's in Mexico. He was with us here for 3 months and has gone back to Mexico, and he's in the studio. So we will beam him in when it's the right moment. And he's been in several projects, so we'll see if we beam him in just once or more than once. So it feels really fun. And from the session this morning, David was talking about the 1% and the 99%, and that often comes through him. It's 1% theory and 99% practice, and that's the turning point of diving into the Course and learning the teachings and recognizing, what is the self-concept, and at least as a beginning step. And then the more we go into it, and you come all the way through the book and through the workbook, and Jesus says, okay, from now on, I leave you in the hands of your internal teacher. And so this is where it really shifts over to becoming 99% practice, which is listen, follow the Holy Spirit, our internal teacher. But that 1% theory is really important. That's our anchor point. We're always going to come back to the foundation of the Course teachings, because or Jesus's teachings, he was teaching the same thing 2,000 years ago as he is in the Course now, about perception and projection, and you are your brother, and the kingdom of heaven is within. And so, yeah, so that's really what a lot of the miracles are that we'll be sharing here with everyone tonight. And when we go on location and show you some of the outcome and form, that's the outcome of joining in mind. That's the outcome and form was never the goal or the point. It's our goal is forgiveness, and it's being joined in prayer together, joined in hearing the Holy Spirit together, joined in wanting to hear the one voice. And if someone's not hearing it themselves, they trust it through their brother, who it's given, to speak in each moment. So yeah, so that's what we really are here for. And so we've been, this whole summer and fall at the monastery, we've been calling it going green, going clean. And there's been a focus on the going green being, I can go into that a bit more in a moment, maybe.
Energy efficiency,
solar
panels, heat savings, water storage, water usage. That's going green for us. We tried to go into wind, but we bit off more than we could chew. That's next year. we didn't know what we're doing with anything, and we had an electrician, but he's like, I've never worked on solar, and we even tried calling professional electricians to help. They're like, oh no, that's a specialty. But in the Spirit's hands, in Jesus's hands, Richard, who's actually up in Canada right now, he was activated to really put together a beautiful system. Yeah, like without Richard, this would have been completely impossible. So that was our backdrop, was the going green. That's the 1%.
Yeah. And then the 99% is the going clean. So we're going green in form, so to speak. It's just the backdrop, but the 99% is going clean in the mind, and that's the healing. That's forgiveness. That's using every opportunity to remember what is it truly for. And it's for undoing the ego, and being done through by the Spirit. But as we know, as everyone here knows, it just takes such a commitment, because, and particularly when you have a group who come who are so willing to serve, just so willing, it's 100% willingness to dive in and give and serve. And so a lot of the healing then is then just having to slow down, actually, and remember to pause, remember to pray, and come back to the Holy Spirit's direction, because the Holy Spirit and Jesus are always giving us one step at a time. Do only that. Do only that. Now do only that. Holy Spirit, Jesus want our mind to be very in a state of simplicity. And so that's really what has been such a prayer for all of us, and us included, like in this collaboration when there's so many projects going on at the same time and so many details, and yet can we find the simplicity every step of the way, which is, oh, what is my part? What is your part? What is each one's part? And when we do only our part and no more, we can truly stay in the vibrancy of what is for us.
Yeah, David said before this whole thing started, he said, I feel like there's a group of people out there that have been studying the Course theoretically, and they need to come together and rub up against each other and learn to communicate, even if it's initially communicating what we could call ego thoughts, like I feel this and I'm angry and upset, because that's where the rubber meets the road, is the clashing. And then, as many of you know, we're big into no private thoughts, no people pleasing. And like Francis said, you don't have to search for truth or the real alternative of the real world, but it just reveals itself. So that was the focus. Little did I know that I kind of thought, well, I communicate a lot, don't I? But this summer, it was like, I was saying to someone the other day, it was like 4 lifetimes of communication in 3 months for me. And I would keep thinking, okay, like I'm gonna say my people, but my people have got it or whatever. And it was like, it was always an assumption. My part was to keep speaking to priorities. And this is what I feel like Kirsten was saying, on a daily basis, just wake up. We really wouldn't know the night before. Occasionally we would have a nightly meeting, but it was more a wrap up of the day to feel connected and communicate. And then, has anybody got any inclinations for tomorrow? But if any of us got set on a plan for the next day, quite often we get wiped by 4 or 5, 6 in the morning, because then the direction or the guidance would come in and there'd be this like shake in the mind a bit like, but you said, or you said. But it was really just an opportunity, like Jesus said in the Course, which Lynn might share a little bit more about later. Take no thought for tomorrow. Today's worries are enough for you. And meaning the guidance in the moment, the guidance for today is enough. And so even with thousands of dollars, being spent on very expensive equipment, 20 to 25 people coming here, so many ideas of what can be done. We had this framework of, does it bring us free electricity? Does it reduce gas? Does it save on heat usage? Will it allow us to last through the winter? What if a solar flare comes and wipes everything out? What will be working? Like we're looking at those criteria for the important things. So when we got down near the end, should we put trim up on the wall, on the paint? And we're like, are we done all the priorities if a solar flare comes? Or, just as a way of like, we live in the high desert. So it reached out, for those of you who are Celsius, like 35, almost 40 degrees for a good 6 weeks. Fahrenheit, that's like 95, almost 100 degrees for 6 weeks, plus maybe for months. And then in the winter, it can get to minus 20, or I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. But so we just really wanted to put that as a priority, because there was so much mind energy going into trying to live and trying to heat the stoves with fire. And David just had this really strong feeling, no, it's time to go green. And it was amazing. We bought our first electric car the very day. He was buying the car the very day the Vice President of the United States was making a public announcement. Everybody should go buy an electric car. David's in the store signing the documents for our first electric car. But it was just part of this bigger plan for the Spirit. So for me, I had to stay with my part, which was, don't be concerned with people's emotions. Don't be concerned with if people listen to what you say. Don't be concerned with if things get done. Keep coming back to, are you speaking the priorities that I want you to say? And why it was so profound for me was, years ago I met with Carol Howe. David and Carol Howe and I met, and I had these big plans for my life. It's going to be Tony Robbins and all this kind of stuff. And she slipped in there and she said, she didn't know that, but she's like, you're a one-on-one guy. You should just stick with one-on-ones. And I was like insulted somewhere that was going to be my life's calling or something. But it was really showing that there was a huge self-concept with believing in an outside world and trying to speak to an outside world instead of just what's given in the moment to enrich my own heart and speak what I need to hear. The pressure was too great. So I as best I could just practice that over the years, but even that really wasn't the plan for this summer. The plan was speak the priorities. And I really saw, like Lynn and I went on a trip one day, that if I deviated from that plan, there was like a shake in the mind because nobody knew what to latch onto. Kind of like David he'd say years ago when he seemed to be leading a community, meaning people just showed up, and he never intended for that, but they just showed up and said, I want to follow you. I want to learn from you. I want to be your student. And I think one day he just prayed to Jesus, when maybe some of the students peeled off or didn't want to be there or were angry or whatever. He turned to the Spirit and he said, you got any words for this? And Jesus said, well, just imagine you're like at the head of a flock of birds, You know, your job is never to look back and see which birds are flying with you. Your job is to fly completely in the direction of the light and go. Just go as, I don't know if it's he heard as fast, but just go as directly as you can in that direction and be not concerned. That's the best contribution. And I never really experientially related to that except for this summer. It was just about say the priorities, repeat the priorities, don't look back. And then as we've kind of gone on throughout the summer, now it's as the transition's happening, it's more like, don't even worry if anybody listens to you with them, just to speak it up. But I'm speaking louder. And it seems to, like in my witnesses, sometimes cause a little bit of a shake, but it's my own fear of speaking up. So that whole thing about everybody needing to come together to communicate was really, really for me.
Yeah. And seeing how perfect that is, like just, yeah, you staying with your part allowed everyone else to do their parts. You know, it's like there's a direction and a priority, and then, you know, I would show up and catch my part, you know, someone I could hear, okay, someone has some healing, and so I'd be there for a one-on-one, or like feel that there was a session to happen, or a session needed, or we'd like there'd be a big topic coming up, and we go, okay, let's have a gathering with David, invite David to come over or head over and have a gathering together on the deck. And yeah, but that part's so essential because it was so full, and so much healing happened through that part, and there isn't really space for anything else. It took everything you'd got. All of your time was spent in prayer or speaking or being out and about with the teams, you know, following through, following up, praying. Like that was it. There's no space for anything else.
No.
So the idea that there could be something else even takes a lot of trust. You know, it's a lot of washing away of people thoughts. Even do they need something else from me? It's like, no, if something else is needed, it's on spirit to provide the answer to whatever other needs show up. And then that's where the joy of collaboration comes in, you know, of staying so focused on our part. Yeah.
Yeah, because you would